Hello, literature class number 2. Welcome back to literature. I bet you guys are glad that you're done with your maps. I hope you're all done with your maps. I haven't looked at last week's completed assignments, but I hope you were all able to finish your maps. So all of you should know where Conrad Buff was born. He was born in Switzerland. He studied in Switzerland and in Germany. And then he moved to America. He moved to, if you remember, Wisconsin. He lived there for a year, and then he moved to California. And he married Mary, who became Mary Buff. And she was born in Ohio and also moved to California. And they are the authors of The Apple and the Arrow and many other books. All right, but before we start reading our literature book, we're going to do one more assignment, and then on Thursday we'll start reading our literature book. We need to know what the 5 elements of literature are, okay? And you should have your paper like this. We don't need our literature books today. Make sure you write your name and date up here, and today is September 22nd, 2020, so it's 9/22/20, all right? And as we read this, we're going to be turning and answering the questions on the inside. So page number 2, it says literature, and then it says setting is. What is a setting? Setting is, and there's a word missing here. So we're going to have to go back to refer to this page and find out what the setting is. So on the very top, under literature, it says right here. The setting is where the story takes place, such as a home, outside, in a classroom, those are examples, and when the story takes place, which would be like the time of day, the year, the season, okay? It can be was it daytime, nighttime, was it a century ago? It just tells you when the story happened. So a story will usually tell you when, or where, or sometimes it'll tell you both. So we're going to go back to our page and we're going to answer this. And it says, you're going to put in where the story takes place. Where, W-H-E-R-E, and you guys should all be able to spell where, so I'm not going to write it on the board. And on some of your guys' papers, I accidentally, the second part printed on a separate page. So you might have to turn the page to answer when. So where the story takes place and when. Okay? Now, then we go on to the page where it says plot is. What is a plot? Let's go back over here. The plot is the events that make up a story. The events that make up a story. So we're going to go back over here. The plot is the what? It's the events that make up a story. Now, those of you guys who were with me in literature the past couple of years, you know that every event, each event has a cause, okay? But all you're going to write down is the events that make up the story. And if you're not sure how to spell it, go back to over here and you can circle it. Under plot is, circle events, and that's what you're going to write here. All right, on to the next page. I should have numbered them, huh? This is a big, long word. It says characterization. Characterization is, go back over here. What is characterization? Characterization is the people or animals in a story and how they act. The people or animals in a story and how they act. So, back over here. Characterization is the people or animals in a story and how they act. So the whole sentence there, except for 2 words, people and animals. and refer to your front page to see how it is spelled if you're not sure how to spell it. Okay? The next page. Style. Style is, okay? Style is the author's own special way of storytelling. It's the author's own special way of storytelling. Every author has their own way of telling a story. You might read a book by one author and you might think it's kind of boring. Then you'll read a different author and you really like the way he writes. People tend to usually pick authors according to their style of writing. Okay, so style is the author's own special way of storytelling. You're going to fill that in by storytelling. We are going to repeat these elements every single day as we read our literature book, so it becomes second nature to you. All right? And the very last page. Leading idea is, what is a leading idea? Leading idea is a principle or a cause for the actions of the characters. A principle or a cause. Now, those of you who've been with me in literature before, you know what a principle is. And a principle is a rule that you live by, something that you learn to live by. We should all be ruled by God's laws. So remembering, well, I'm not sure, yeah. In history, I'm thinking of my history lessons if you've gotten it already. If you haven't seen the video yet, you'll see that we keep our hearts with all diligence. And the way we keep our hearts is by reading the Word of God and thinking His thoughts, because His thoughts are good. And so we live by God's thoughts. Okay? That's a principle. That's something that you learn from the Word of God. A principle or a cause for the actions of the characters. Examples: patience is a virtue. Disobedience will bring much shame. If you learn that, then you'll say, well, I don't want to be ashamed, so I'm not going to be disobedient. Okay, so you're going to put, oops, I got the wrong page. Leading idea is a principle right here. A principle or a cause. Instead of cause, you can also put idea. A principle or an idea for the actions of the characters. For example, patience is a virtue. Disobedience will bring much shame. So that is the leading idea. What is the leading idea of the story? What is the principle behind the story? Okay? And you don't think you're going to remember this, but believe me, you will remember these, because we're going to repeat these elements over and over and over. As we read our literature book, we will be identifying the setting, the plot, the character, the leading idea, and the style of writing. I believe, no, I haven't given you, I know it's, those of you guys who are in beginner class here at CLIP, they taught you what one style of writing, there are many, is alliteration. Remember, alliteration was, I found a shell by, no, that's not, the seagull. The seagull, they both start with S. That's an alliteration. When you have two words that start with the same letter or sound. All right, that's a style of writing. There are other styles of writing that you're going to learn as we read our literature book. All right, so go ahead and finish that. If the answers are all right here for you, I want you to read the definition of each one, understand what it is. If you're not sure, call me, text me. On Thursday, have your literature book ready. We're going to start reading out of your literature book. All right, the apple and the arrow. We'll see you guys in the next video. Easy lesson today. Bye-bye.